Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. Say, did you hear about that fight at the seafood restaurant? There was battered shrimp everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Operation Dragoon Solitaire from Worthington Publishing. Operation Dragoon from Worthington Publishing is the latest iteration of these kind of pocket-sized solitaire games you can take with you anywhere. We've seen a lot of great games in this: the Pacific War, Europe at War, the French and Indian War, 1812. There's a lot of different titles in these series, and this particular one takes on the 1944 invasion of southern France, led by the United States 7th Army and, of course, the 6th Corps, with some great Free French units as well. This is a very interesting moment in history, in the war, and this game has a lot going on. Let's take a look. Now, the game plays out very similarly to a lot of these other games. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to determine how many kind of resource points you have, any action points. And you can go ahead, you can roll to determine, based on the chart, how many action points you're going to get for that round. Now, what you're doing with your action points is essentially you're resolving attacks. You are attacking along different lanes. You're trying ultimately to prevent German units from escaping. So you're trying to bag them. So you're moving your corps and other units along their tracks. You're battling the enemy. They're trying to hold, but you're rolling the die. You're trying to get the appropriate die rolls to push them back. Now, you're going, as I say, along different tracks. You've got Free French units coming in behind the American units, and you're trying to push them back to a spot from which they're going to have a very difficult time escaping. So that's what you do, is you're essentially battling on your turn. But you have to decide exactly where you're going to expend your attacks, your resources, of course, because all of the attacks aren't going to go through, and there may be problems. You'll also have the option, if it's clear weather, to actually bring out aircraft to give you a +1. You can only do that on one attack per turn. After you've completed your turn, the Germans are going to move. They're going to start moving their units away. Again, they're trying to escape. They're trying to get out of the way. So you have to figure out the movement. There's a chart that shows how they move. And then you're going to roll for the German bot. So the German bot will roll, and then you will take a specific action depending on what the roll is, and if it's an odd and even turn or whatever. And the German will then attack you at certain spots. Most likely, he will try to force you back, push you back, and you're kind of hoping that those die rolls and those advances that you made on your turn, they are not reversed during the German's turn. Now, after the German bot has gone, then you go ahead, you advance the turn marker, and you begin a new turn. Now, the game ends at the end of the August 29th turn. If by that point Marseille and Toulon are not captured by the Allies, it is an automatic German victory. Now, you're going to add up various locations on the board to give you victory points. You're going to score a victory point for every German unit that is defeated before it can escape. And if you can score 10 or more victory points, then you win! Operation Dragoon, 1944.
We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review.
All right, Operation Dragoon. So again, this is another one of these really fun and engaging and short and filled with tension solitaire games from Worthington. I really enjoy these games generally, and I'm a big fan of the World War II ones specifically. And in fact, it's interesting because you look at, like, say, the Pacific War one or Europe at War Solitaire, and these are big theater, Europe or Pacific battles. And I really like this one because it was more of an operational, it kind of zoomed into the operational level here of the invasion of southern France. Now, Of course, obviously, I'm familiar with Operation Dragoon, being a World War II historian professionally, and it was interesting to me because uh, I'm I had written my dissertation on American generalship in the war, and I'm kind of expanding that, and I'm kind of been writing more in the hopes of getting it published. And I'm kind of taking a look at some different things. And one thing I didn't look at in my dissertation very closely, and I am looking at now, is Operation Dragoon. And it was funny because I played this game right before I started really writing about it. And this game really helped me to kind of understand and conceptualize exactly what was going on here. You don't really get into the weeds with like Task Force Butler or anything like that from the game, but in really studying it, I was in Washington D.C. in March, and I went to the National Archives, and I found like Six Corps unit histories and stuff that I've been reading through, and it's interesting to see exactly how that was kind of carried out. How they're trying to get Task Force Butler there at the Montmelier, I think it was called. They're trying to get them there to block the Germans coming through, but they just didn't have the strength to block enough of the Germans. And it was very, very frustrating moment for Lucian Truscott, the commander of the Sixth Corps, and all the Allied leaders. And it's just kind of fun to play that out. And like I say, this game kind of helped me on a level conceptualize how this battle played out, even though it's a very abstracted game. Still, it was helpful to me, if nothing else, for the geography and kind of how the units were moving there. But I really enjoyed it. This is a fun game. It's another great one of these solitaire games. And in fact, this one might be my favorite. I might like this one the most out of all of these pocket solitaire games that I've played. It's great history. It's great gameplay. Again, it's not too long. Again, if one of these games went on, an hour and a half, 2 hours, I wouldn't like it. It'd be too much luck for me. But where these games play in 20, 30 minutes, they're quick, they're fun, and they tell a great story. I love them. And this one, like I say, is probably my favorite. I like the operational level here. I hope we see more of these kinds of games to come from Worthington. On the Cody scale, I'm going to go ahead and give this a 7 out of 10. It's just a fun, light, solitaire game. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us once again today here on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we would ask you to please leave a comment here on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on X. We love to hear back from you. We would ask you to please like this video and subscribe to our channel. That really helps us out. We would also ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where I talk about military history and books on history, fun things like that. I even post some of my lectures on there. I would humbly ask you to click on that channel and subscribe to it as well. And also, too, if you really do like the kind of content we bring to you here on The Discriminating Gamer, I would humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. I was once in a job interview, and they asked me if I could perform under pressure. And I said no. But I could perform Bohemian Rhapsody.
Please somebody help me on my feet again. And I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band. God knows that I love to fight.
But this card has a red cannon by the enemy armies. Speak truthfully, Cody, or feel my wrath. What does the red cannon mean?